Hi, welcome to our channel of IGNOU audiobooks, Indira Gandhi National Open University. School of Education, SOE. Master of Arts in Adult Education, MAE. First year. May 002 Policy Planning and Implementation of Adult Education in India. Block-1 5-Year Plans in Adult Education. Unit-3 Resource Support Structures of Adult Education.
Education 3.0 Introduction. In the preceding unit we have discussed the administration of adult education in India. We know that adult education is a broad concept and in its broadest sense it includes a variety of programs and institutions of adult education. Adult education has received universal recognition today and its increasing desirability and relevance to national development has been well documented and reiterated over the years. The steps taken by the government for strengthening administration and implementation of adult education programs have resulted in establishment of resource support structures at different levels without which sustaining adult education programs in a vast country like India would have been very difficult. In this unit an attempt has been made to present a comprehensive picture of the origin, growth, transformation and existing status of the resource support structures of adult education along with their nature and functions, and the changes that have taken place therein over time. 3.1 Objectives. After going through this unit you will be able to understand the need and significance of the resource support structures in promoting adult education. Describe the growth, diversity and hierarchy of resource support structures for adult education. Explain the roles and functions of different resource support structures of adult education established at different levels, and present the existing status of these resource structures in adult education. 3.2 Need and significance of resource. 1. Support structures. The successful discharge of responsibilities by different functionaries, authorities, or bodies in the field of adult education at different levels depends, to a large extent, on the technical and resource support available and provided to them by the relevant structures set up at the respective levels. Since adult education is a dynamic process, its technical and resource support structures cannot and should not remain static and naturally undergo a change depending upon the changing needs and requirements of the programs and the roles and responsibilities of different functionaries involved in implementing diverse programs of adult education. In this section, let us discuss the need and importance of resource support structures in adult education. 3.2.1 Need. In ancient times, as we have learnt in the preceding unit, there was not much demand for involvement of many experts or for establishment of specialized structures at different levels for promoting adult education. This was so because of the fact that the purpose, nature, content and mode of delivery or organization of adult education activities was simple and diverse, and accordingly the management of these activities was less technical and mostly localized. Added to this, we further understand that there was no definite information available about http://archive.org/stream/educationashow3239mbp/. The textbooks prescribed for the various courses in different institutions during different centuries in ancient time. These must have been undergoing change time and again when better and more up-to-date books, written by competent authorities, became available. The selection of textbooks was usually governed by considerations of merit alone. An author had to submit his work to a synod of scholars at a famous center of learning, like Pataliputra, Banaras, etc., and if it was found to be a work of merit by that body, it received its imprimatur, which helped its acceptance and spread in provincial towns. It should be noted that no pecuniary gain was likely to accrue to an author by his book being prescribed in several institutions, for there was no press and copyright in ancient India. The adoption of a work as a textbook in a province, however, increased the reputation of its author, and we sometimes come across writers adopting rather questionable means to get their books accepted. Subsequently, the scientific and technological inventions and development, knowledge explosion and concomitant explosion of population, human needs, problems, aspirations, interests, demands, etc., over the years have led to educational explosion. In recent times, ever-increasing realization by the government and public of the need and importance of adult literacy and education. For economic and social development, population control, national integration, promotion of democracy, ensuring national security, improving quality of life, and raising the standard of life of people has further led to tremendous influence on education in general and on adult education in particular. The existing programs in the field of adult education have been reviewed, revised and renamed alongside launching new and innovative programs. As a result, the management and organization of adult education, which was simple, scattered, varied and localized in the past, has become increasingly inadequate and irrelevant, calling for frequent changes and new structures to suit to the changing nature, objectives, scope, complexity, size or coverage and so on of the programs. 3.2.2 Significance. The quality of adult education depends greatly on the quality of its management and administration, which in turn depends on the nature, extent and quality of technical support it gets from the established resource structures. The changing nature, objectives, scope, complexity, content, size or coverage, number, etc. of the programs created increasing demand for complex, hierarchically structured, and well-organized resource support structures spread across the country. Over the years, many structures have come into existence to support the management and administration of adult education programs at different levels. In order to provide better technical and resource support to different administrative bodies and functionaries involved in implementation of diverse programs at different levels, changes began in the already established, existing structures on the one hand and new structures were created on the other. This is because of the fact that the responsibility of facilitating planning of the program, selection and training of different functionaries, securing and establishing linkages with different developmental, welfare and mass organizations, monitoring and evaluation of the programs, research and other studies, etc. rests with these structures. To be precise, the significance of resource structures in the field of adult education lies, essentially, in their potential to provide adequate and qualitative support for effective planning, implementation and evaluation of the programs at different levels. 3.3 Origin and growth of resource support structures. The creation, continuation, conversion, transformation, cessation or closure of any educational institute or organization or structure depends on many related factors. Development, changes in the field. These factors, developments, changes include socio-economics, bureaucratic, political, and/or educational policies and programs that may have direct or indirect influence on adult education. No less than these, the administrative staff and faculty of specialized institutions, structures or organizations that come into existence in the field of adult education directly contribute either to their growth and survival or to their destruction. Sometimes, the fraud in creating an institution as a part of implementation of a well-formulated policy will spell a disaster in its life and growth. The fate of such institutions along with the programs in the field may add to the woes of the staff concerned. We need to examine these factors as well. In this section, let us look at all these by focusing our discussion on the origin and growth of adult education institutions, organizations or structures which have been created specially for providing resource support to functionaries and activities of different programs. 3.3.1 Origin. The origin of resource support structure in adult education can be traced to 1939, when Indian Adult Education Association was established in the pre-independence period, when the Congress Party was in power in most of the provinces. This is the first voluntary organization of its kind which was established to provide a national forum for the functionaries of adult education in the country, besides performing its role as a national resource center in adult education. During the first 5-year plan, 1951-56, social education program was launched and social education OFLs training centers were established as the resource structures L centers. The main function of these centers was to provide training to the social education workers at the grassroots level. However, these centers were not established uniformly throughout the country and they were also very few in number. Further, there were no resource centers established at the state and central levels to enhance, support and build the capacity of these centers. National Fundamental Education Center, NFEC, was established in 1956 during the second five-year plan, 1956-61. This was the first ever national resource center of its kind established, supported and funded by the government at the national level in the post-independence period. But there were no structures established at state and district levels. The objectives and functions of NFEC were to provide training and orientation to the key personnel of social education, such as the district social education officers, to carry out research to produce prototypes of audiovisual aids and teaching materials for social education, to conduct monitoring and evaluation, and to act as a clearinghouse of information. The Union Ministry of Education introduced an additional scheme of Workers' Social Education, and Workers' Social Education Institute was started at Indore. The other central schemes taken up in the second plan period included the schemes for production of literature for neo-literates, organization of Sahitya Shivers, literary workshops for training authors in techniques of writing for neo-literates, and the establishment of the National Book Trust and Institute of Library Science in the University of Delhi for providing facilities for training in public librarianship. The program of social education at the block level included setting up of community centers, youth clubs, Mahila Mandals, adult literacy centers, recreation centers and training of Gram Sahayiks, Aganwal. 1989, p.79. Subsequently, NFEC was also converted into the Department of Non-Formal Education in the National Council of Educational Research and Training, NCERT, which also discharged similar functions as that of NFEC. During the third five-year plan, 1961-66, besides continuing the old programs, a few new programs, schemes such as Janata colleges, community centers, farmers clubs, Mahila samitis were launched. Yet, there was a lacuna in terms of not having any resource support structure at the state level for capacity building in social education. Moreover, due to the Chinese aggression during this plan, the Government of India could not lay out the sketch of the fourth five-year plan, and hence annual plans were launched during 1966-69. A significant program called the Farmers Functional Literacy program was launched with 3 Fs, Farmers Training, Functional Literacy and Farm Reading, as the essential components. During this period, adult education continued to be an integral part of the community development program. University departments of adult education were established and encouraged to take up pilot projects, to conduct research and to organize extension and extra-mural lectures. The National Board OJ, adult educators was set up to advise government on the development programs and for enlisting cooperation of the concerned organizations and agencies interested in adult education. Thus, though establishment of structures at grassroots levels and at national level was begun, there was no stability in them till the end of the third five-year plan. Besides that, there were no structures established at state level for providing technical and resource support to the programs at that level. 3.3.2 Growth. More systematic growth in the resource support structures in adult education took place from the fourth five-year plan onwards. During the fourth five-year plan, 1969-74, the Department of Non-Formal Education in the NCERT was taken over by the Ministry of Education and Culture and renamed as Directorate of ADSE Education, DE, in 197-1. This was really a turning point in the history of adult education in India because a separate resource support structure for adult education came into existence at the national level. The main functions of DE were to provide technical and professional support to the programs in the field in the form of materials, media and methods, training, orientation, monitoring and evaluation, research, etc. These functions were, again, more or less the same as those of NFEC or Department of Non-Formal Education in the NCERT. Until this time it was the Congress Party that had been in power at the center since independence. Adult education programs were launched and continued under the name of social education. It was during the fifth five-year plan, 1974 to 79, that adult literacy replaced the term social education or adult education in the literature of adult education. Of course, it is a mark of regression as adult education was conceived in its narrow sense. Moreover, due to the fall of Congress government, the fifth plan could not be completed. The Janata government, which came to power at the center in 1977, came out with annual plans. After reviewing the then adult education programs, it launched the National Adult Education Program NAEP in 1978 by bringing all the programs of adult education under its purview. It was the first national program of its kind launched in the field of adult education. This was the time when some serious thought was given to the planning of the program, including its resource support structures at different levels. The day had been strengthened and it started playing a significant role at the national level. Further, full-fledged directorates of adult mass education were set up in some states, while a state adult education officer was made a part of the Directorate of Education, the Directorate of Social Welfare in Madhya Pradesh, in the other states. With the launching of the NAEP, some expansion of staff was effected in day, but the emphasis was on establishing mutually supportive working arrangements with a large number of international and national institutions and organizations. Day, thus, was able to establish cooperative arrangements with a number of university departments and institutions of social science research for resource support. Recognizing that no single agency can provide expertise and resource support required for the adult education programs in the entire country, the implementing agencies were encouraged to develop their own capability in the areas of training, materials production, monitoring and evaluation, publication and dissemination, and research. DAE has lent its support through its technical, personnel and funding resources. From time to time it published books and intonation materials such as reference books, collection of articles on adult education, training manuals, seminar reports, research reports, prototype materials, and publicity materials. It could develop a unit which was concerned with the planning of the follow-up and post-literacy programs under the NAEP. It made remarkable efforts for developing the resource bases throughout the country in the area of population education as well as its integration with NAEP GOI. 1988. At the state level, it was considered necessary to identify and develop an institution, such as State Resource Center, which would be able to provide technical support to the program. DAE triggered the growth of State Resource Centers, SRCs. In the subsequent years L plans, the idea of SRCs developed as a result of a good deal of experiences gained and on the basis of the three conferences on SRCs, organized in August 1977, August 1978 and May 1979. The ministry as well as DAE have closely monitored the development of the SRCs. In consultation with the state governments concerned, several measures were also taken to strengthen SRCs. DAE has been advising the ministry as well as the state governments in all technical matters besides overseeing the work of the various state resource centers, SRCs, and other agencies involved in resource development at the national and state levels. The functions of SRCs are related to the specific needs of different states. There are, however, some common functions which are expected to be performed by all SRCs. GOI, 1979, p.21, a. Curriculum development and preparation of teaching and learning materials. Publication of methodological guidelines as well as prototypes. B. Training of project officers and supervisors as well as of resource persons who would assist the district resource units, and also publication of training handouts and other aids. C. Post-literacy and follow-up materials including review of existing literature, publication of new materials, issue of organizational guidelines. D. Evaluation, research and innovation, including formative evaluation of the activities of the SRC itself as well as other institutions and agencies. Cooperating in development of curriculum, materials and training, action. Research and publication of case studies on innovations. A. Assistance in environment building, mass media. publication of posters and other materials, exhibitions, etc. F. Other publications, including translation of the publications of day and the SRC's knowledge-building books on adult and non-formal education. Bulletins and periodicals in regional languages. Over a period of time, state resource centers, SRCs, were established in many states and they have been strengthened by training their personnel, providing them adequate financial support and improving coordination with respective state governments. In addition to the above-mentioned functions, SRCs have also taken up field programs to serve as laboratories for tryout of their materials and methods. Like the day, the SRCs have been functioning in close cooperation with other agencies and individuals having interest and capability to support the work of the SRCs. Rather than doing all the work themselves, the SRCs were expected to farm out their activities to other suitable agencies. Emphasis was also laid on taking of concrete steps by SRCs for resource devolution. I.A. Training and guiding the personnel of the district resource units, DRUs, and other local agencies which can provide locally relevant resource support to the implementing agencies. The establishment of DRUs, though planned, could not materialize on expected lines because of many reasons like the change of the government at the center and consequent review of NAEP followed by its revision during the 6th plan, and so on. During the 6th five-year plan, 1980 to 85, adult education was made a part of the minimum needs program. Establishment of DRUs started during this period with simultaneous expansion of SRCs at state level. The professional support in terms of training and research at the district level has been provided by DRUs as part of District Institute of Education and Training, DIET. The DRUs discharged the following functions: GOI, 1988, p.44. A. Provide technical assistance to District Board of Education. B. Train adult education and non-formal education functionaries at the district level. C. Orient the functionaries of development departments and other concerned agencies. D. Material preparation for basic and post-literacy programs. A. Mobilize media support, and F. Evaluation. The functional areas of diets as elaborated by Day, 1988, pp. 1-6, and NIEPA. Satyabhushan, unpublished, quoted in Lakshmi Reddy, 2000, are as follows. Training. A. Teachers of elementary stage, pre-service, in service. B. Non-formal and adult education. Instructors, supervisors, assistant project officers. C. Planners and managers. Community leaders, functionaries of voluntary organizations, heads of primary and elementary schools. School complex functionaries, block level officers. Research and extension. A. Research and studies, action research, project experimentation, extension work. B. Preparation of curricula, learning and teaching materials including adult and non-formal education. C. Planning and management of institutions, school complexes, learning centers, adult and non-formal education. D. Tools of evaluation, students, teachers, instructors, institutions, adult and non-formal education programs. A. Evaluation studies, advisory and professional services. A. District Board of School Education. B. School complexes. C. Voluntary institutions. D. Educational institutions. A. Project officers and other functionaries of adult and non-formal education. We thus find development of technical and resource support structures with A. Establishment of Day at the national level, SRCs at state level, diets and DRUs at the district level. All this is no doubt a welcome development. Yet, there was a gap, a need to establish and develop such permanent structures at the grassroots. Tilde was required to be filled with proper structures, and this has become a focus in the subsequent plans. Besides expanding the efforts for eradication of illiteracy, development of continuing education was a major thrust area in the 7th five-year plan, 1985-90. During this plan, efforts were made to establish and develop some structures at the grassroots level to promote continuing education. The programs for providing training to adults in functional skills relevant to their respective economic activities was started and strengthened by way of establishing Shramik Vidyapeeths, SOEs, and other similar institutions which provided adequate resource support for organizing technical and vocational skill-based courses for the benefit of adult learners. National Literacy Mission was launched in 1988 with a policy decision to convert the existing day into National Institute of Adult Education, NIAE, and make it a national resource center in the field of adult education. Here, once again, an attempt was made to repeat the previous mistakes of dislocating and renaming of the national resource structure. Nevertheless, NIAE was established in 1991 as a separate autonomous organization under the MHRD, leaving DE intact. The functions of NIAE as the National Level Resource Center for Adult Education included, see NIAE. Memorandum of Association and Rules, 1991, pp. 4-7. Quoted in Lakshmi Reddy, 2000. A. To organize training, including continuing education programs for functionaries of adult education and persons who can contribute to the furtherance of the objects of National Institute of Adult Education. B. To develop methods and techniques of curriculum preparation and production of teaching, learning materials and also, where appropriate, to develop curricula and teaching learning materials required for adult education. C. To develop methods and the techniques for preparation of post-literacy and continuing education materials as well as of materials on the priority areas, such as women's development, population education, skill development, citizenship education, etc., and also where appropriate, to develop such other relevant materials. D. To develop a framework for provision of support by media, electronic and full traditional one media in academic and technical resource support as well as for improvement of teaching, learning processes. And to develop media. A. To develop methods, models and techniques for summative and formative evaluation including MIS of adult education programs, to undertake such programs where appropriate, and to develop frameworks for implementation of the program. F. To develop techniques and procedures for establishing levels of learning outcomes of various adult education programs and for measurement of learning achievement. G. To explore and harness ways for application of findings of scientific and technological research for improvement in teach-and learning processes in adult education and in improvement of its management. H. To undertake research in adult education. I. To serve as a national repository of literature on adult education, including teaching learning materials, post-literacy and written education materials, research papers, journals and periodicals, wallpapers, newspapers, etc. J. To establish and maintain a library and documentation center, and wherever possible, to promote and support similar activities at the state and district levels. K. To secure involvement, participation of various institutions, agencies and individuals having interest and expertise in adult education for furtherance of the objects of the institute. 1. To develop methods and techniques for spread of literacy, including issues of motivation, area planning for illiteracy eradication, effective ways for securing people's participation and examination of various management models. M. To advise and assist the central and state governments in implementation of various adult education programs. N. To serve as an agency of international cooperation and exchange in areas of academic and technical resource support. O. To assist appropriate agencies in creation of environment favorable for literacy through print and non-print media, including pre-literacy and motivational aids and materials. P. To serve as a clearinghouse for dissemination of information on adult education. Q. To undertake printing and publication of materials, such as books, periodicals, and other literature on adult education and disseminate the same to various agencies and individuals, and R. To hold conferences, workshops, symposia on issues directly or indirectly related to adult education. But, from the policy of National Literacy Mission it could be noticed that the policy decision to convert the existing day into National Institute of Adult Education, NIAE, was flouted and instead, NIAE was established by retaining day as it was and much against the very policy decision itself. 3.4 Present status of resource support. Structures. During the 8th Five-Year Plan, 1992-97, see http Planning Commission, nic.in/plans/planral/5year/8th/wo12/8v2ch11.htm, there was more focus on literacy, post-literacy and continuing education. District Boards of Education, DBEs, came into existence. DBE was conceived as the nodal agency for planning and management of education at the district level, comprising formal education, NFE and teacher training, and vertically linked to block or mandal education. Committees, BECS MECs, and village education committees, VECs, in a decentralized framework. Post-literacy programs were institutionalized in the form of 32,000 Jana Shikshan Nilams, JSNs. The Shramik Vidyapeeths, which came into existence since 1978, acted as resource support agencies to organize training and skill development programs for promotion of educational, vocational and occupational development of literates, neo-literates, semi-literates and unlettered persons. The scheme was reviewed and expanded by establishing 25 new Shramik Vidyapeeths during the plan and were renamed as Jana Shikshan Sansthans, JSS. The center provided assistance to the state governments for strengthening of administration and to voluntary organizations for various activities. In the light of the 73 feet and 74th constitutional amendments, literacy assumed greater significance during the 9th Five-Year Plan, 1997 to 2002. While literacy campaigns had covered 447 districts, 215 total literacy campaigns, 173 post-literacy campaigns and 59 continuing education phase, 38 additional districts were covered under rural functional literacy projects, raising the total coverage to 485 districts. Efforts were also made to bring the remaining 40-odd districts under the coverage of literacy. It was also decided to bring all the districts under the continuing education program, the SRCs, which are managed by NGOs or universities, have been providing academic and technical resource support to the programs of adult education. The scheme was revised during the 9th plan, see http planningcommission.nic.in/plans/5year/9th/vol2/v2c33.htm and the following major changes were incorporated. Financial support to SRCs has been enhanced from 30 lakh rupees to 60 rupees lakh in case of category A SRCs and from 25 lakh rupees to 40 lakh rupees in case of category B SRCs. Category C was abolished. Provision has been made for a one-time grant to the SRCs for infrastructural facilities. Provision has been made for NGOs to undertake area-specific continuing education projects as well. Further, under the scheme of support to NGOs and voluntary agencies, financial assistance was provided for various activities such as running post-literacy and continuing education programs with the objective of total eradication of illiteracy in well-defined areas, undertaking resource development activities through the establishment of SRCs, organizing vocational and technical education programs for neo-literates. Promoting innovation, experimentation and action research, conducting evaluation and impact studies, and organizing symposia and conferences, publication of relevant books and periodicals and production of mass media support aids. During the 10th Five-Year Plan, 2002-07, the National Literacy Mission continued focus on medium-term goals. The 10th Plan targets for adult education were, see http planningcommission.nic.in/plans/planral/5year/10th/default, htm. To achieve full literacy, a sustainable threshold level of 75% by 2005. To cover all left-over districts by 2003-2004. To remove residual illiteracy in the existing districts by 2004-05. To complete post-literacy campaign in all districts. To launch continuing education programs in 100 districts by the end of the plan period. To realize the targets, some specific initiatives have been taken up during the 10th plan, which included to tackle residual illiteracy in districts which have entered the post-literacy and continuing education phase. Basic literacy programs were taken up. Along with continuing education, flexibility was built into the operation of the scheme and innovative programs designed to meet specific requirements of tribal pockets, areas with low literacy, including pockets with low female literacy. Exchange of visits between different districts for sharing of experiences and educating voluntary instructors of new districts were encouraged. Cooperation was sought from all sections like educational, social, cultural, religious and other institutions to make the adult education program self-reliant in terms of finance, implementation and monitoring. Institutional linkages with other departments like those of youth affairs and sports, rural development, health and family welfare were developed, so that infrastructural and manpower requirements are complemented, and NLM integrated literacy with vocational and technical skills and with income generation activities and programs to improve the quality of life, all of which have a significant impact on generating demand for literacy. To achieve this, strategic plans were drawn up in a time-bound manner so that the requirements and sensitivities of the target group were taken into account. For the development of innovative programs, the assistance of NGOs, SRCs, Jan Shikshan Sansthans, PRI and other local bodies was taken. Further, during the 10th plan, the NCECS ICECs were developed at various levels. They acted as a. Centers of convergence of all development programs in the village 1. Community. B. Centers of learners' participation, providing relevant teaching learning material, and of regular monitoring of programs. C. Data banks containing an inventory of traditional and contemporary art and crafts, existing resource, raw material and infrastructural facilities, and D. Centers for designing and implementing the various target-specific programs which require identification of areas which would require collaboration with other agencies. The focus in the 10th plan was on consolidating the already sanctioned TLC projects in order to ensure their successful completion. Under the revised scheme, it was envisaged that basic teaching learning activities would be integrated with the post-literacy activities to ensure a smooth transition from TLC to PLP. Special focus was laid on problems of disadvantaged groups like SCs, STs and women, and special problems of low literacy states like Uttar Pradesh, Bihar, Rajasthan, Madhya Pradesh, Andhra Pradesh, Jammu and Kashmir, Jharkhand and Chhattisgarh, the states where the literacy rate was below the national average, and low female literacy districts for reducing the regional disparities in literacy. With the rapid expansion of TLCs and PLPs, the demand for skill development has increased. Therefore, the scheme of Jan Shikshan Sansthans (JSS) was aimed at improving the effective skills and the quality of life of its beneficiaries. During the 10th plan, the following measures were taken regarding JSS. The scheme will concentrate on rural areas, primarily targeting neo-literates, semi-literates, women and the SCs, STs. At least 30% of the beneficiaries of the scheme must be neo-literates. The literacy contents in Jan Shikshan Sansthan courses will be increased. A non-literate or neo-literate joining a vocational training course should get an opportunity to strengthen his or her literacy skills through the Jan Shikshan Sansthans. The teaching learning material for vocational training and skill development programs will be planned in consultation with the SRCs and Zilla Saksharta Sarnitis. The Jan Shikshan Sansthans would take up vocational programs which have employment potential in consultation with the Zilla Saksharta Samitis. The Jan Shikshan Sansthans will provide academic support to the Zilla Saksharta Samitis in organizing vocational programs in the continuing education scheme. The Jan Shikshan Sansthans will be encouraged to undertake innovative programs, and the Jan Shikshan Sansthan will have to run 10 to 15 CECs and at least one NCEC directly under it. In consultation with the Zilla Saksharta Samiti, it is expected that NGOs would take up more innovative projects, which would serve as examples for making policy changes by the NLM. The total number of JSSs went up beyond 220. The number of SRCs went up to 26. In order to raise the level of expertise of the SRCs in training and implementation of continuing education schemes, their functions in the 10th plan period were envisaged as development of literacy materials, primers for TLC-IPLP, neo-literate material, books, booklets, etc., and other forms of literature. Development of training manuals for different levels of functionaries. Imparting training for key resource persons, prereqs, voluntary instructors, master trainers and district coordinators. Development of audiovisual aids for adult education programs. Coordination with the media, both electronic and print media. Monitoring and evaluation of literacy programs being implemented by Zilla Saksharta Samitis, NGOs, etc. Conduct research studies for the improvement of strategies for adult education programs and innovations in the field of adult education. During the 11th Five-Year Plan, 2007-12, the NLM has been revamped with the following targets: special focus areas and special features target. I. Achieving 80% literacy rate. E. Reduction of gender gap in literacy to I 0%. E. Reduction of regional, social, and gender disparities. IV. Extending the coverage of NLM programs to 35 age group. Special focus is on I. SCs, STs, minorities, and rural women. E. Low literacy states, tribal areas, other disadvantaged groups and adolescents. Main features were integrating Zilla Saksharata Samitis with the bringing literacy programs at various levels under structures at block, Gram Panchayat levels, through Panchayat Saksharata Samitis, PSS. Revamping of NLM integrating TLC, PLP, and SEP and introducing a broad-based lifelong education and awareness program, LEAP. The LEAP will offer diverse learning programs, functional skills, quality of life improvement programs, QLIP, vocational skills, VS, and equivalency programs, APES. Centers for Lifelong Education and Awareness, CLEAs, will be multifunctional and multidimensional, seeking to provide a variety of learning programs to beneficiaries. ICTs will be more widely used to spread literacy in the country. About 250 new JSSs will be set up in the 11th plan. The sanction of new JSSs will be contingent upon independent evaluation of the existing JSS with regard to their utility. To ensure transparency in the functioning of JSSs and accreditation process will be evolved in partnership with states, and only accredited NGOs with good track record will implement JSSs. The management of dysfunctional JSSs will be changed. The quality of JSS training program will be improved with the help of professional technical institutions in the district, and the programs tuned to meet local demand. Placement record of the trainees in the self-employment will be maintained. A stronger synergy would be ensured between the state resource centers, SRCs, and the adult education departments in universities for sound academic and research inputs. Existing SRC District Resource Center, DRC, will be strengthened as per the assessed needs, and new SRCs will be set up only in the states where they do not exist. There will be no more than one SRC per state irrespective of the size of the state's population, so that uniform standards are maintained, including production of teaching learning materials, TLM, and all NGO-operated schemes will be sanctioned to accredited institutions only. The accreditation process will invariably involve state governments, and the accredited institutions will be listed on the MHRD website. Reflection. After having gone through the developments and evolution of different resource support structures at different levels during different 5-year plans, do you now have new ideas or suggestions for bettering these structures in any manner, or for introduction of new components into the programs, or establishment of new structures for better implementation of the programs? You can list them, and think of furthering the linkages with the existing structures. After getting the clarity for yourself, try to discuss the same with the concerned individuals, experts, institutions, and the government functionaries about their relevance for improvements in implementation of adult education programs in the country. Know for yourself the acceptability and validity of your ideas and suggestions with the above feedback. Having been through the above brief description of the metamorphosis of adult education programs and the evolution of relevant resource support structures. Over time, we can clearly notice that there were many changes during the first few plans, brought about in the nature, location, nomenclature and basic functions of these resource structures without any major purpose. But during the recent plans, from 8th to 11th plan, we can see progressive changes in developments in the policies. As adult educators, we must be clear about all these changes and developments. Thank you for watching. We will see you in the next video with the next chapter.